Hey, what's up everybody? Tech Chucker here, and today we're going to do a review of the Marvel Legends Space Venom Wave Peter Parker Spider-Man. That's right. So this Spider-Man is on a new body mold. It's slightly shorter, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. One thing I want to say is Hasbro, get your hip articulation figured out. All right? Figure it out. Get it better. Let's crack this thing open and take a look and figure out why I'm so annoyed about the hip articulation. Alrighty, so we're going to talk articulation. We'll get to the hip issues, but let's start off, as we always do, with the head articulation. And Peter Parker Spider-Man comes with our standard ball peg with a hinge, and he can look up quite a ways. That's really good. He can look all the way down, no issues there. And then he's got full side-to-side rotation, no problems with that. Moving on to the tilt of this, there's not a whole heck of a lot, and I wish that there was. So that's definitely an issue. In the shoulders, he's got a ball hinge, and he can get his arm just above his shoulder, which is pretty good. And then he's got full rotation. There is no butterfly, but he's got a upper bicep swivel. He's got double jointed elbows, which work really, really well. And so I'm happy with that. His wrists, he's got a peg joint, and then he also has a hinge in there, and there's really no issues with that. I wish that we had that butterfly joint. That would help. In the torso, he's got a standard hinge joint, which allows him to ab crunch forward quite a ways. It looks a little funky on the back, but that's okay. And then he can kind of arches back this much, which is good. He's got a waist swivel with no issues, nothing hindering that. Moving into the T-jointed hip joints. Here we go. This is what's bugging me. All right, so Spider-Man should be able to do better splits than this. Come on, Hasbro. And then the forward kick, straight out. That's it. He should be able to go a little higher. And then the backwards kick, I expect a little bit more out of that too. The upper thigh swivel works well. There's no issues with that. So I'm happy with that. The double jointed knees, they work really, really well. Bends all the way in half. And then he's got an upper shin cut, which I don't like. They get a little bit loose on this figure. So, and then it just looks kind of funky. In his ankle, he's got good backwards motion, terrible forward. This also causes a lot of posing issues. Even when you really try to force it, you can get a little bit more when you force it, but it just kind of pops back. He's got an ankle rocker, which works well. So, overall, the articulation's not bad. It's pretty close to what Pizza Spidey has, minus the butterfly joint in the shoulder. The issue really is trying to get him into those really dynamic spider poses where he's really just crouched down, really, really tight to the ground and whatnot. That it's just really hard to get him into those positions. And for a Spider-Man figure, you gotta have that. So for that, I originally was really stoked about this figure, but then when I started trying to do some of my Instagram pictures, it was really hard to get them posed. So articulation is definitely an issue here. Alrighty, so the sculpt and the paint work on this figure I actually really like. I think they did a pretty darn good job with this. Moving straight into the head first, I like the big eyes. I think that's sculpted really nice. Those are sculpted in. The paint could be a little cleaner, certainly. You can see some black bleeding into the white. And some missed areas a little bit, especially around the black. But overall, it's pretty good. The webbing, I think they did pretty good with the webbing on his head and back and whatnot. There are definitely some QA paint issues with some of the paint kind of chipping off or spotting off here and there. So it could definitely be a cleaner paint job. But for a Marvel Legends with the actual lines, I think this is pretty good. I think they did really good. There's really no shading throughout the figure, so that obviously is an issue. But when you're talking Marvel Legends from Hasbro, it's very seldom that we ever get any shading anyway. The logo on his chest is pretty clean, though right in the center there is a missing piece of paint, and you can see below there's some break in that webbing, and his belly button for whatever reason has a dot of black. So I don't know. The back logo or spider is, again, a little bit dirty, but the lines are fairly clean. Um, I can't complain too much. The hips and the waist and whatnot are decent enough. You can see that he's got those elbow pegs that are still red. Uh, I'm fine with that. Moving into his shins, we got the same paint issues, some missing paint from time to time. Sometimes it's not as clean as we'd like it to be, but overall, I would say that, Hasbro still did a pretty darn good job. The one thing that I will note is I think his upper body looks a little bit narrow. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, his upper body, his chest, namely, looks like it's too narrow, and the pecs maybe needed to be just a hair bigger. I don't know what it is. Something just doesn't quite look right in the chest region on this figure, and it looks a little funky. But I like the height. Some folks don't like the height. Some folks think that he's too short. I'm pretty happy with it. I think he's just the right height for kind of a teen Spider-Man Peter Parker. Accessories for this figure are decent. It's not a huge number. We get a bunch of extra hands. So we get, I believe it's 3 sets of hands. We get these fisted hands, which are painted fairly well. We got basically the same paint quality as we had on the rest of the body. And then we get his standard thwipping hands, which we would expect. And all of these hands are basically the same as what you get with Pizza Spidey. They're just kind of scaled down a little bit. And then he also gets the wall crawler hands, which for some reason we're not going to talk about. And then this alternate head, which the eyes are painted terribly on mine. He's got that derpy look. And then the hair is sculpted nicely. I like it. For some reason, I'm not a huge fan of kind of the grinning Peter Parker. I'd rather he be maybe a little more serious so that you can use him in more scenarios for pictures and whatnot. But let's take a look and see what he looks like. Putting this head on, to me, it seems clear that the neck is just a bit long. That head to me feels like it sits just a little too high on the body. Also, the head feels a little too big compared to the masked head, but that might just be me, and maybe it's my perspective or whatever. But I am happy with these accessories. Here's the deal. I wish that he would come with, I wish Hasbro would give us an actual spider web accessory that he can be shooting from his hand, something that would clip on or whatever that would look like an actual spider web that's actually being whipped out of his wrists. That would be cool for an accessory. So overall, this is a solid figure. I got him for about $9.97. I don't think I would have bought him if he was 20 bucks. The articulation is certainly an issue for me. That's one of the reasons why he isn't going to be my go-to, but I don't know that I have a go-to Spider-Man figure yet. Hasbro, I need you to fix that hip articulation. Fix the ankle also. Until then, this is just kind of a middle-of-the-road figure for me. Alrighty, folks, I hope this has been helpful. If it has, go ahead and click the like button. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button for more. And until next time, I'll see you later.
Textures Brain Blast.